Every time you fill your car with fuel, you are participating in a global system that most people don't fully understand.
How the World Works TV. How the world really works. Explained simply.
A system that shapes economies, influences governments, and even drives conflicts. Oil is not just a resource. To understand this, we need to start with a simple question. For more than a century, it has quietly controlled how the world works. The answer is surprisingly straightforward. Oil is energy. But more than that, it is portable, dense, and incredibly versatile. It powers cars, trucks, ships, and airplanes. It is used to produce plastics, chemicals, fertilizers, and even parts of the clothes you wear. Modern life, as we know it, depends on oil in ways that are almost invisible. And because of that, countries don't just want oil, they need it. Now here is where things get interesting. Oil is not evenly distributed across the planet. Some regions have vast reserves, others have almost none. This creates an imbalance, a dependency, and dependency creates power. Countries that produce oil can influence those that consume it. They can control supply. They can affect prices, and in many cases they can shape global decisions without ever firing a single shot. But how does this actually work? Let's break it down. Oil begins deep underground, formed over millions of years. Extracting it requires massive infrastructure, technology, and investment. Once extracted, crude oil is transported, often across oceans, to refineries. These refineries transform it into usable products like gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel. From there, it enters a global distribution network that reaches almost every corner of the world. At every step of this process, there are companies, governments, and agreements involved. And this is where control starts to emerge. Because oil is not just about production, it is about who controls the flow. One of the most important players in this system is an organization called OPEC, the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. OPEC is a group of major oil-producing nations that coordinate their production levels. By increasing or decreasing supply, they can influence global oil prices. And when oil prices move, everything moves. Transportation becomes more expensive, goods become more expensive, inflation rises, entire economies feel the impact. This means that decisions made by a handful of countries can ripple across the entire world. Now think about that for a moment. A meeting in one part of the world can affect how much you pay for fuel, food, and basic goods. That is not just economics. That is influence, and sometimes that influence leads to tension. Because when something is this important, control over it becomes a strategic priority. This is why oil has been at the center of many geopolitical conflicts. Not always openly, not always directly, but consistently. Countries want stability in their energy supply. They want predictability. And in some cases they want control. This has shaped alliances, driven foreign policy, and influenced decisions that go far beyond energy itself. But here is the part that most people don't think about. Oil doesn't just control governments, it also shapes markets. When oil prices rise, companies adjust. When prices fall, entire industries shift. Investments move. Jobs are affected, currencies fluctuate. Oil is deeply connected to the global financial system, and because of that, it acts almost like a hidden backbone of the modern economy. Now you might be wondering, if oil is so dominant, why are we moving toward alternatives? Electric cars, renewable energy, sustainability. All of that is real, and it is growing, but the transition is slow. Because replacing oil is not just about technology, it is about infrastructure, it is about cost, and it is about time. The entire world has been built around oil for over 100 years. Changing that is not simple. And even as new energy sources emerge, oil continues to play a central role, at least for now. So when you look at the world today, you are not just seeing countries, economies, and markets. You are seeing a system where energy drives everything.
Even today, oil still accounts for a massive portion of global energy consumption. Entire industries depend on it. Entire economies are built around it. And transitioning away from oil is not just about switching technologies. It requires rebuilding infrastructure, redefining supply chains, and reshaping global relationships. That takes time, a lot of time. So what we are seeing is not the end of oil, but a transition phase. A moment where two systems coexist, the old world, still powered by oil, and a new world slowly emerging. And during this transition, something interesting happens. Power becomes unstable because the rules are changing. Countries that once dominated the energy landscape may lose influence. New players may rise. New dependencies may be created. And once again, energy will redefine how the world works. So the question is no longer just about oil. It is about what comes next and who will control it. Because it is not just selling goods or services. It is, in a way, supplying the currency that the world needs to function, and that has consequences. It influences exchange rates, it affects interest rates, and it gives the U.S. significant financial leverage. But this system is not without tension, because if oil is no longer tied to a single currency, the entire system changes. And that brings us to another important point. Energy is never just about energy. It is about influence. It is about control. And it is about who sets the rules. For most of modern history, oil has been one of the main ways those rules were established. But one thing is certain. Whatever replaces oil at the center of the system will not just be a technological shift. It will be a shift in power. And just like before, that shift will define how the world works. Maybe in ways we don't fully understand yet. But now, those rules are starting to evolve. Slowly, but visibly. And once again, the world is entering a moment of uncertainty. A moment where old systems are being questioned and new systems are being built. The outcome is not clear yet. But there is another layer to this story that most people never see. Because oil is not just about energy. It is also about money. More specifically, it is about the global financial system. For decades, oil has been traded almost entirely in one currency, the US dollar. This system is often referred to as the petrodollar, and it creates a powerful connection between energy and global finance. Here is how it works.
And in many ways controlling how the world works.
How the World Works TV. How the world really works. Explained simply. Don't forget to hit subscribe.